Welcome back. We finished up last time with the trekcho part of the text, and so now we're moving on into the togal, which is actually one of the longer parts of this particular text. So we're on page 37 and section 2122, Introduction to Direct Transcendence, or togal. The path of the key points to luminosity of spontaneous presence. And so this has three parts. The first part is the preliminaries of the ways to generate unconditional primordial wisdom in the mind stream. That is also broken into three parts. So the first one is giving up activities of body, speech, and mind, abiding at ease. So this next section focuses on the different aspects of body, speech, and mind. For your body, outwardly give up all various confused activities of the world, such as business, production, trying to profit, and so forth. Inwardly give up all lesser forms of virtues, such as prostration, circumambulations, and so forth. Secretly give up all distractions, mundane entertainments, and busyness. Stay by yourself. Now we've seen some of those before in other texts that we looked at, Yeshe Lama and so forth, so those are not unusual. And then for the speech, outwardly give up all forms of various confused worldly talking. Inwardly give up all various forms of chanting and recitations. Secretly stop all speaking and be like a mute person. So no speaking at all. And then for the mind, outwardly give up all various forms confused worldly thoughts. Inwardly give up all various ways of holding the mind of the generation and completion stage. Secretly stopping all forms of mindful awareness, abide in a state of non-conceptuality, which goes back to the trekcho part. You just rest in a natural state. So there are two reasons given for doing these. Temporarily, by dropping activities, you will not be confused in the future. Other distractions that might confuse us. Ultimately, unconditioned primordial wisdom will swiftly arise. So in that vacuum, so to speak, then that is more easily arisen. The second preliminary, then, are the key points of body, speech, and mind. And so the first part of that is abiding in the three postures of the key points of the body. So we have the three postures that we're familiar with already. The Dharmakaya posture of the lion. And so we sit upright, touching together the soles of the feet. So they're coming together, the two soles of the feet coming together. In yoga, that's called the cobbler pose. So we push those together. And then the knees are out, holding your thumbs in fists. So that's the Vajra fist. You put the thumb inside and fold the fingers over the thumb. Place the palms of your hand either on the ground outside of the soles of your feet or inside. So you're sitting cross-legged, so you can, and then you have your hands in the fists, so you can put your hands either on the outside of your thighs or on the inside, so kind of in the front of your legs, which is kind of the way a cat usually sits. So when they talk about the lion pose, as opposed to the sleeping lion pose associated with the Shakyamuni and his death, but just pressing them against the ground, either in the front or to the sides.
The lion's gaze.
Well, the gaze comes later. Okay, that's here too. And so then lifting your neck slightly up without moving the gaze up towards space, extending from your eyebrows. So what it's talking about here is that if you look up, some of us at least can see our eyebrows, and it cuts off the field of vision. So it's saying tilt your head back just a little bit so that you're facing up, but you don't look up with your eyes. And so the field of vision then is up to your eyebrows and out and around. So without moving your eyes to change the field of vision, you just look at that particular part of what you can see there. And then the Sambhogakaya posture of the elephant, we're facing towards the ground. Bring your two knees up together to your chest and plant your two elbows on the ground. And so that's kind of like this kind of a thing, only you'd be more flat out there, and your legs would be folded back underneath you. And then with your hands, it says touching your windpipe, support your chin with your fingers spread out. Your back is straight. Focus your awareness with your eyes side to side of space. So there's a looking one direction, then the other direction, back and forth. Slowly, usually. And then the Dhammanikaya posture of the sage or rishi. So here we sit upright with our ankles together, and the two hands should embrace the thighs or knees. Your back is straight. Look gazing with the slightly squinted eyes into the field of appearances. So you're just squatting down with your legs folded in front and your arms kind of wrapped around those, and then you're looking straight ahead out into in front of you. But you also, in this one, squint just a little bit when you're doing that. Then the reasons given for these postures are as follows. Temporarily, through the first posture, the inner elements are consumed. Through the second posture, the moving subtle winds are captured. And through the third posture, heat is generated and the elements are balanced. Ultimately, you will gradually realize the meaning of primordial purity, the meaning of spontaneous presence will arise, and confused appearances will arise as a pure realm. Ordinary samsara, the confused appearances. And so we begin to see them just as when we talk in Tantra about pure view of seeing all beings as Buddhas and all sounds as mantras and so forth. So that's the same idea here. Then we have the key points of the speech. So that was the body, the three postures, and so now we have the speech. These are very concise. The first one deals with abiding. At the stage of abiding, break with speaking. This stops confused conversations. Now, we already talked previously in this section of the text about being like a mute, so this just reinforces that. The second topic is stability. At the stage of stability, do not do more than the slightest chanting and recitations with your voice. And then the resolving section, at the stage of resolving, do not perform any expressions aside from a few gestures. So we're allowed here to do a few things other than what the other one indicated, where we would sit basically in stillness, we would sit like a mute without saying anything at all, and so forth. The reasons given are as follows. Temporarily, confusion and afflictive emotions will not increase. Ultimately, you will feel the meaning of awareness and you will reach nirvana within the expanse of enlightened speech of all the Buddhas. So, we often talk about the speech of the Buddhas as being silence. And so here we'll reach that speech by working on it at a relative level, but then we can achieve more of an ultimate level of that kind of silence. Then we have the key points of the mind. Focus your mind without distractions into a cloudless sky. Within the empty field of vision, empty awareness will appear. So the reasons for doing this are as follows. Temporarily, you will clearly see awareness directly. So this is one of the key features of Toga, is that the things that we've talked about, the things that we've practiced in a somewhat abstract way, here become very real in the form of visions. Ultimately, you will attain the rainbow body of Buddhahood without remainder. No body left behind, no remnants left behind. So then the third preliminary is the way of pointing out the secret path of primordial wisdom. There is a channel that runs from the heart to the eyes. And so this is the kati channel that we've talked about before. It is like a white thread of silk. From that, primordial wisdom travels up and out to appear from the eyes like sunlight streaming through a window. Only it's streaming outward instead of inward here. To allow this, perform the three gazes. So here are the three gazes. The Dharmakaya gaze is up. The Sambhogakaya gaze is gently side to side, and the Namanikaya gaze is downward, squinting with the eyes half open. This is slightly different than what we just looked at in terms of the poses, but these are the common ways that they are usually described. And then the key point of the subtle winds is to breathe as slowly as possible through the mouth with the lips and teeth just slightly open. So just a tiny bit. It's not with your mouth just wide open, but just a little tiny bit, just enough for the air to come in and go out of the mouth. The key point of awareness is to gaze directly at the appearances of the Vajra chains without moving. So one of the first things that we see in this blank screen of the sky, if you will, when we're looking at that, are these appearances of bindus, tiglis, and then we begin to see them linked together into chains. So these are called Vajra chains. And at the beginning, they tend to move around, but the longer we do that, we learn to stabilize our eyes, then the chains also tend to stabilize. So the chains without moving here. By these, temporarily, the primordial wisdom of awareness will directly appear. So what we are seeing here is awareness itself. Ultimately, you will go through the 4 stages of visions and attain a rainbow body of Buddhahood without remainder. So the 4 stages are what's referred to typically as the 4 visions of Toga. And so that's the process that we go through. And we'll go through the rest of those here shortly. So we'll take a little break.